Hello, everyone, and you're welcome not to the Man United agenda, but the Full Time Sports Network. We're making our debut for fantasy football on this channel, and you're all very welcome. Ross and Colm are joined with me as always, and it's an unusual one for us today, lads, because there's an active game week currently in progress while we are live. So, in essence, we're actually going to be missing a preview week. But how exciting is it to be on the show while live play is occurring?
Yep, pretty exciting for that. I have my TV on in the background, so I keep having to pop over to look at the live scores. I'm hoping Chelsea don't concede again, but we'll talk more about that into the show.
Very good, very good. Colm, I know you're not too happy with Matters Fantasy Football at the moment, even though you had arguably an absolutely brilliant week in the last game week. You still managed to go down the standings.
Yeah, yes, I have. You know what? This is the thing. I've had two brilliant game weeks, not just one. I've had two, and I've still gone down the ratings. So there's something seriously afoot here. The fantasy football gods are not with me at all at the minute.
Ross, are the odds in your favour?
Hopefully, yes. Like Colin, I feel that I had a really good game week, but I also slipped down the ranking. So I guess there's a couple people that are doing a little bit better than I am. But this game week, this is it. I've got the faith. I've got the Jesus fever, and I believe in him. He's going to score some goals.
Oh, yes, indeed. Of course, the man, the myth, the legend that is Jesus did absolutely haul bare points for many happy fantasy football managers 2 game weeks ago, I think, at this point. But will he return with a vengeance this week? That is the question. But of course, we are live in gameplay, and I am going to give you some score updates because let's talk about what's going on at the moment. Everton are 1-0 up, and would you believe Leeds have just had to substitute Rodrigo off? So Rodrigo is off the pitch in the 32nd minute. So this is obviously a blow to Rodrigo owners. Ross, I can feel your pain. Let the viewers know what's going on inside that head.
You know what? I'm actually devastated. I'll take it back. I'll take back what I was saying about feeling optimistic. But I feel sorry for Colin because I think Colin captained him.
Nope, I didn't.
Did he switch last minute?
I didn't captain him. I've captained somebody else, and he's still on the pitch, so that's all good.
Yes.
No.
And of course, it is 1-0 to the Toffees in this game with 33 minutes gone. Anthony Gordon, the player that was subject to an absolutely mammoth £60 million inquiry by Chelsea, has got a goal. But is his time in the starting 11 going to be under pressure now that Mr. Mopai has arrived on scene? Colm.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing something that is going to affect everybody. It's not just obviously Everton, it's going to be every team. We're going to start seeing the rotation. It's going to happen. I mean, when you've got Mopai coming in, you're guaranteed, you're going to have to be fighting for your place, even if there isn't a lot of rotation.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have some bad news. The Mitrovic train is still flying. 48 minutes in, 2 minutes into the second half. Mitrovic with a goal, 1-0 to Fulham. Brighton are in trouble.
Man. Yes. I brought him in. Yes.
And Ross, more bad news for you. It is now 2-1 to Southampton. Armstrong with the goal. So Chelsea.
You can't do this to me. You can't build my hype and bring it back down. But I suppose this is FPL. This is what the emotions are about. For those of you who don't know, I have Koulibaly in my team. I kept him even when he got suspended. He was sitting on the bench. I was waiting for him to come back and have a monster game week, but his clean sheet bonus is gone. -2 because he's conceded 2 goals. It's not looking good.
It's definitely not looking good, bro. And before I come back to you on the issue of Mopai, I'll just give you a final update. In the fourth game, Crystal Palace still remain 0-0. They're deadlocked.
So yeah, I mean, he's going to be fighting. Morpé's a goal scorer. He's been brought in to score goals. So regardless whether they start rotation or not, he's going to be fighting for his place regardless. But yeah, rotation is going to be a massive thing now.
Absolutely, yes. And speaking of massive things, let's just get into cut and thrust of the week just gone. And that was, of course, the 9-0 drubbing that Liverpool handed out to Scotty Parker's Bournemouth. And it would seem that now, as a lot of you will know, Scotty Parker's lost his job today. And it
Harsh.
was not because of the performance, apparently, but the manner in which he conducted himself in the interview post game. And they did not believe that, although the points made were justified, that the way he went about it was just untenable and that his position couldn't be kept. But a 9-0 scoreline, it's not the first time that we've seen it. Liverpool fans did try to claim this achievement as one of their own, but unfortunately, another team has done it twice before. But Ross, Mo Salah has become one of the most transferred out and appears to be one of the most transferred in players in this game week because he did not contribute to any of those 9 goals. Could you, if you were a betting man, what kind of odds would you actually get on something as ludicrous as Mo Salah not being involved in any of 9 goals?
Honestly, it's insane. I was having a conversation with another fantasy football maniac, and he's quite up to scratch with his stats. And he was saying that apparently, with the scoreline and with Mo Salah not contributing any attacking output to that, it was a 1 in 2.5 million chance of that was happening. And that is staggering numbers. Honestly, it was unbelievable. And I was shocked. I captained Salah like many other people did. And we didn't get anything to show for it. But I've not lost my faith. Don't jump off that bandwagon. Keep him in your team. He's still a very good attacking asset to have in your team for the season.
Absolutely. And of course, Colm, another one of the top 3 most captain players in that game week, Jesus, got 1 point himself. So there wasn't a lot of ground lost for Salah captainers in regards to that. However, the freak that is Alfie Inga Haaland Haaland was absolutely clinical in front of goal.
Yeah, he was clinical. I was debating before the kickoff for the last game week between Jesus and Haaland. I looked at him and I was like, Arsenal's probably got the easier game, so I'll go with Jesus. And that burnt me. That burnt me a lot because, Haaland would have got me more, basically. But no, congratulations to anybody that stuck with Haaland and captained him. Very, very well done. Very well done.
Absolutely. But I suppose moving onto the wall of shame, other than obviously that particular bit of disaster that was Salah not getting involved in any of the 18 possible scoring contributions, what was the absolute downer for you, Colm, from the last game week?
So it's not really affected me, but I speak to quite a few people in the fantasy league, and a lot of them have said Gallagher. A lot of people have decided to bring Gallagher into the team, and the first game week that they're in this team, he's been sent off. A very, very 2 stupid tackles, 2 stupid mistakes, and he's now cost them.
Absolutely, yeah. Red cards are something that Ross is all too familiar with. So, Ross, I turn to you. What disappointed you most, or what did you see as the biggest disappointment to the community at large in terms of the fantasy football?
I have to go with Jesus, to be honest. A lot of us have banked on him for that previous game week, and he was quite poor, which is strange. And I know it is strange to say that because Arsenal are flying high, and not all players are going to have great attacking returns. But from a personal...
2-0 Fulham.
Is it Mitrovic?
Dunk on goal.
Oh.
I don't have Dunk. That's all right.
I have Feltman. Oh.
Apologies,
Yeah.
Ross, but it turned into a bit of soccer Saturday there for a minute.
Yeah, for me, Jesus, he disappointed. He disappointed last game week. I expected a little bit more, but he's coming up against a very weak Aston Villa side at the moment. And, he might want to try and prove a point and make up for the goals that he missed in the previous game week.
Absolutely. I'm just going to describe this goal to you. Andres Pereira had the ball delivered to him on the left-hand side of the box. Dunk, I don't know what he was thinking, comes in, puts his foot out, and absolutely sends it past the poor Sanchez that could do absolutely nothing about it. An absolute mare from Dunk, and I think he was I wonder, does this burst the Brighton defensive trend that we've been seeing in fantasy football?
No, not at all. There's always anomalies, and this is just one of them. This Leeds side looks up for it. Jesse March has got that Leeds team really hungry. One thing I can say, and I feel your sympathies for everybody that owns Sanchez. I'm looking at you guys. Your FPL week kicked off brilliantly.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. I've got a very, very strong team this week, so I'm fine with that.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll soldier on. Let's just hope that Gross can get something back for us in the second half, and even if it's just 3 points for an assist, who knows? But just there briefly, moving on to the score updates. Palace is still 0-0. Fulham are now 2-0 up. Southampton and Chelsea 2-1 at half-time. And just approaching half-time, Everton remain 1-0 up on Leeds with about a minute to play. So that's where we are on the current active game week. Of course, there will be games tomorrow. Just briefly before we go on to looking at game week 6, what assets are you hoping will do the most for you? Obviously tomorrow, and then if you have anything involved in the Manchester United versus Leicester game, I would probably be doubtful given the form that we are in up to now. But who are you hoping that will drag you out of the fire tomorrow?
I'm in 7 heaven, so maybe Colm is still in hell.
No, obviously I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I've got, like I said, quite a few players tomorrow. Hopefully City go on an absolute rampage tomorrow. Haaland, Foden, there too. Hopefully we'll get a clean sheet. That means Cancelo's got to get some points for me. And then obviously Arsenal have got Villa. So
we have a bit of drama. Apologies. There's a penalty check in the Fulham versus Brighton game. The penalty would be going to Brighton if given. It looks to me like it would be a harsh penalty. The Fulham defender was looking to clear the ball. Brighton attacker crossed in front of him, got kicked in the back of the leg. Referee has pointed to the spot.
Right,
that is harsh.
Give it gross.
That is harsh. I'm sorry, for any Fulham fans out there, but he literally, the forward, checked himself in front to try and get on the ball before the defender. Reed was already trying to clear the ball with a kick, hit him in the back of the shin, and the ref has given it. This is unbelievable stuff. But,
who's the penalty taker?
I'm looking out to see who's.
It's normally like Trossard or somebody, isn't it? Well, normally it's more pay, but
it's McAllister. Had to put the ball on the spot. Yes. I will tell you that these Brighton jerseys, they're atrocious for actually picking out the numbers. The numbers are completely and utterly camouflaged in to the back of these red shirts. McAllister stepping up to the spot. Keeper looks comfortable. And he tucked it away, 2-1. So, 2-1. Clean sheet is gone for Fulham. But Meter owners aren't too concerned with that because they don't benefit from bonus points. But
Smile here.
on the matter of bonus points and defensive points, as fantasy football managers know, defensive midfielders are pretty much nearly pointless in the game, barring if they are a penalty taker. We've had this discussion in the backseat before, but is there any way that they could become viable in the fantasy football setup if the mechanics of the game provided for a 50% of the defender's clean sheet?
Yeah, and I think that's something that the FPL team needs to have a look at. And I know it's something that's been crying out from the community as a whole for years. Unfortunately, the game favors attacking output. So if you own N'Golo Kante, Kamara from Villa, or any other centre defensive midfielder, Casemiro, such a good player, but I don't think he'll score you a lot of points. It's such a shame that they won't be accounted for in the game properly.
Absolutely. And I can also bring to you that there has been a goal at Crystal Palace. It's Mr. Wilfred Zaha.
Oh, he needs to get in my team. Ooh.
But returning to the matters at hand and the assets that you're looking for to perform tomorrow, Colm, who is on that list?
So the assets for me tomorrow. Obviously, I want Jesus to perform. Haaland, he needs to perform, and Martinelli, Foden. They're the ones mainly that are going to be getting me points. They're the ones that I want to perform. The defence side of it, yeah, okay. I wouldn't mind some clean sheets, but getting clean sheets at the minute is difficult. It's very, very difficult. So I need my forwards to perform tomorrow.
Ross?
Cancelo needs to start performing a lot better. The Pep rotation is going to come in, and as Colm was pointing to earlier, that we will start seeing a lot more rotations in the team. And I fear for Cancelo owners. I fear for myself because I am one of them, and he should be doing a lot better to get us those points. Normally, he's a bonus point magnet, but lately, in the past couple of game weeks, he's come up with nothing, and I need him to show some sort of reward for us tomorrow when he plays.
Well, Anthony, I would like to welcome you. You are our first commenter since our move from the Man United agenda to the full-time sports network. So you're very welcome. Please do share it with all your Arsenal buddies. We welcome all creeds and religions of the football community to our fantasy football show. So please do spread the gospel of FPL. But speaking of players, I suppose it would be remiss of us now not to look at the week's fixtures ahead in the circumstances. So, Colm, I think you have the fixtures that are coming up for us. Now, I'm going to draw your attention to one fixture because it's a team I want to talk about because they had been an FPL stalwart in terms of getting a defensive asset from this team in, and that is Wolverhampton. They're playing Southampton at the Molineux in the week. It's a 3:00 game on Saturday. Is the mystique of the Wolves defender delivering clean sheets, is that being kind of rinsed away this season to an extent? Because in terms of in front of goal, despite the fact that they've looked to have signed Peter Crouch 2.0 and Kolasinac, they do not seem to be very prolific goal scorers.
No, not at all. I think Jimenez, after his injury, hasn't really hit the heights that he was at before he got injured. And that's a real shame. And you can kind of see it affecting the rest of the attacking players, like Neto. A lot of us own Pedro Neto in our FPL, and it seems that his bad luck is rubbing off on them. But this game against Southampton, especially at home, that has potential for Wolves to hopefully start finding their spark again.
Absolutely. Colm?
You see, I personally wouldn't put a Wolves player, a defender, in my team. Not at the moment. They're leaking too many goals. And I know he's saying this is a potential for him to get back onto it. But with Southampton aren't a slouch, you know. Is it Adams who plays for him up front? He's a goal scorer. He can find the back of the net whenever he wants to, really. And Southampton have played really, really well recently. So for this game week, I probably wouldn't have a Wolves player in there.
There you go. But in the kind of, I suppose, the spirit of the season, though, is there value there for fantasy football managers in a Wolves defender still? Can they get that fortress, that defensive monster hauls that they have been getting over previous season?
I don't think they can. I don't think they can this season. I really don't. I don't know what it is. It just something seems to have changed at Wolves, and I'm not sure what it is. But they're just not. When teams used to go to Wolves, it was like a fortress. You weren't scoring many goals at Morniel, but for some reason this season, Wolves' back line has been very, very leaky. So I honestly I can't see it this season.
You're nodding your head in agreement, Ross. You think that the mirage of absolute majestic defensive prowess is absolutely gone out the door. But let's take a look then onto other fixtures. Of course, the big one is the Everton versus Liverpool Merseyside derby. That could be a pivotal moment in Lampard's career as a manager. So, for you, is like, again, Lampard and Gerrard, I thought would have been the two, other than Brendan Rodgers, that would have been under the most pressure as managers. Is there enough quality in Everton to maybe upset the apple cart in terms of your Salahs and your Trents and your Robinsons from the asset pool?
Not a chance. Not a chance. This is a derby. Liverpool are going to go all guns blazing. They've just come off of the back of a 9-0 win. They'll probably go out tomorrow and smash them, and then they're going to be up for this derby even more. And I think Everton aren't going to know what's hit them. I think Liverpool are going to come in to, is it Goodison Park they're playing at?
Yeah. Goodison, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to come to Goodison Park. It's going to be like that tornado in Wizard of Oz. It's going to come in, destroy everything, and then leave.
Okay, so obviously, so you're considering, well, actually, Colm, you can consider it because you were one of the faithless ones that hung out the king of FPL to dry following his blank in that 9-0 victory. Tell us about your thinking actually in that, and give an insight to the viewers as to why the Mo is not untouchable.
You see, I might be shooting early. I might be jumping the boat, missing the boat, whatever you want to say, on Mo Salah. However, I have watched quite a lot of football so far this season. I do a lot of live watch-alongs and stuff on this channel. He's not the player he was last season, and I really don't think he is. He seems to have lost a step. He doesn't look like anything like he has been, and I'm just wondering whether that's playing with his head a little bit. Because Salah's always been the big star at Liverpool. He's always been, don't worry, Salah will get us out of this. But we're seeing a lot of other players now stepping up and above what Salah can do. This 9-0 win recently has just shown that Salah's not needed in the team to win. He didn't even score a goal. So for me, I don't know. I just think Salah's not with it at the moment. So I'm not willing to waste however much it is to keep him in my team when I could go out and buy another player that I know will perform.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the same player after Mane left. And maybe it's a team cohesion problem. Maybe Salah might have his sights somewhere else. That always happens to a player after they get a new contract. Their drive and their hunger seems to fade away slightly. And I'm not taking anything away from him because he's an exceptional professional. But the numbers speak for themselves. And to not get any sort of contribution for that 9-0 victory, I was stunned.
Salah not being needed, those are heavy, heavy words. The silver one is saying that, aka Tony, that Zaha is on his bench. So he's doing a big face palm at the moment. And just to give, I think, Ross, you said you have Veltman in your team, do you?
I do.
He has been taken off in the 64th minute and replaced by Tyreek Lamptey. So he will be doing no further contribution to the game at hand today. But moving swiftly along, because there are no further updates from the active games, we come back to Chelsea West Ham, because I think, given the state of Chelsea, Ross, I'm going to be coming to you heavily on that one. Newcastle, they're a team now that are after making a big investment in their forward acquisitions in the form of a certain Swede, isn't it?
Yes.
Isk is Swede. Um, However, they are finding that they're getting a few the injuries, and one of them is Bruno Guimaraes that seems to be struggling a bit. Uh, is Newcastle a team that at this stage you have to be considering for your fantasy football team?
Definitely for differentials. I mean, the first player that comes to mind is Saint Maximin. He has been on fire so far. I think he's equalized his goal tally this season compared to last season. So his attacking output is staggering. And if he continues his form into the season, then I can only just imagine how explosive his numbers are going to be. Alexandra Isak, Newcastle's new record-breaking signing, is also one that's highly rated. Some call him a very young Ibrahimovic, and if he can live up to those type of expectations and hype, he'll be a monster signing for some sides.
Isak, a player, of course, Colm, that Manchester United were believed to have checked on during their deliberations this week, but obviously he's now a Newcastle player. Is he someone that you think will be shifting the goal-shy Wilson from his position as goal-scoring chief for Newcastle?
Yeah, he's a lot better than Wilson by miles. He's quicker, stronger, more gifted than Wilson, I'd have to say. But it's going to take him time to settle in. So it's going to be a case of waiting. If you are going to get him, it's going to be a case of waiting. For me, I'm going to pass. I think this league's going to be a little bit too difficult for him this season. He's going to have to try and find his feet and everything. And once we know what teams are like, he's coming to the Premier League from La Liga, and players notice how quick he is. They're just going to go into him straight away and let him know they're there. So it might throw him off his game because it's not something he's going to be used to.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into the main games, that is obviously United versus the Silver Ones, Arsenal. Villa will be playing Haaland, da, 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 da. And Ross is absolutely dreading it as we speak. And of course, the Chelsea West Ham game. The one fixture that I think a lot of managers will have assets involved in is, of course, that Spurs versus Fulham game. We saw Kulusevski provide an assist for fantasy owners in the game just gone. And of course, Harry Kane did Harry Kane things, managed to miss the penalty, but still delivered 2 goals. But the one asset, and I think he seems to be losing his mystique a bit this year, Son. What is going on with Son, and is he one to avoid?
I think a lot of the attacking output is not going through him anymore. If you look at the previous seasons, him and Kane built such a good partnership, the two of them. And now under Conte, they have so many different avenues for them to create and score goals, especially with the counter-attacking wing-backs, which Kulusevski contributes in, that Son is left isolated at times. And don't get me wrong, he's really good for the team, but he's not the main focal point of that attack anymore to help get you those FPL points.
Of course, last season, Colm, when Harry Kane was absent, I think through various injuries and bits and bobs, he was the goal scoring chief and he was the point of the attack. Could it be that, given the way that Conte is setting up his team now, the diversity of midfielders that he has, the way that he expects to control games, that a player of Son's quality, it could be time that if he wants to be the man, that he'd need to move?
Yeah, I think so. He's been a great soldier for Tottenham, but like it's just been said, like Ross has said, a lot of the focal point isn't going through him anymore. Whether that's because Conte doesn't rate him as much as Kulusevski, I'd find that hard to believe. Maybe it's teams have clicked on to what Son is about a little bit more now. He's been in the Premier League for a couple of seasons. But I think it is time for Son to probably move on to be that, number one guy again. because he was the number one guy. Like you said, when Harry Kane was out injured, he was their focal point striker, and he was scoring for fun when he wanted to. He just seems to be having a really hard time at the minute.
Absolutely. Now, with the remaining fixtures that we're looking at, Ross, I'm going to be mean and make you not talk about Aston Villa. I'm going to ask you to talk about Manchester United versus Arsenal.
That game, United versus Arsenal, oof, what a game for the neutrals. I'm quite excited for it. Personally, I'm going to put all my assets into Arsenal compared to Man United. I feel that Man United's form is much more erratic, and it's all about consistency with FPL. Now, I don't feel comfortable with taking out my Gabriel Jesus and even Martin Odegaard to try and take a punt on Rashford, Sancho, and the likes of them. So if you're looking for consistency, in my opinion, Arsenal will be the safer bet for this. But if you do have any Man United assets in your team, don't get rid of them, because they could pay off in a big, big way.
The follow-up question I'm going to ask you is this. Obviously, given the reinforcements that Manchester United have brought in the form of Casemiro and Anthony, both of whom could be pivotal points in that game against Arsenal, while there's probably little risk in their attacking assets because they will more than likely get chances to score against Manchester United, could it be one to avoid in terms of the more defensive players, like aka the Ramsdales, the wing backs, the centre backs? Are they ones that you might consider, okay, not a great week to have those players on your starting 11?
I agree 100%. I also have Zinchenko in my team. And if he's fit by then, because I think he was injured this game week, if he's fit by then, he's somebody that I'm probably going to bench, because I definitely see some goals happening in this game. And it's too much of a risk to have any defensive assets in it. Whether you're having an Arsenal defensive assets like Ramsdale and Zinchenko, or some of you Maguire fans, maybe you still have your heart set on him. I would stay away from all defensive assets in that game week.
Absolutely. Colm, I'm going to ask you to talk about Aston Villa versus Manchester City, because I'm going to spare Ross the pain of admitting that Gerrard could actually, at that point, deliver Villa's worst ever start to a league campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for every Villa fan at the moment. I've seen some really good Villa performances. I remember when Villa was showing up, actually, this is going back a few years. They came to little old Doncaster, where I'm from, and got shown up by a League One pub team. And I think it's going to be exactly the same this game. Man City are just going to go all out attack. And honestly, if you can, this is one to possibly captain Haaland if he's playing. He's going to have so much fun against the Villa defence. So much fun.
You're rubbing it in here.
Ross,
It's true.
I presume you will not be starting any Villa defenders in your team for that game.
No, not at all. Aston Villa are incredibly poor at the moment. And you touched on an interesting stat there about Gerrard delivering the worst Aston Villa performance as a manager, and that's correct. Since our inception, if he loses the next 2 game weeks, which is against Arsenal and Man City, then he will officially be, according to the stats, having the highest loss percentage record for Aston Villa. And I don't see us even getting a point from both those games. We're in a mess at the moment. And like Colm was saying, capitalize on my pain. Triple up on Man City assets and get your 3 points.
And ironically, a manager that beat him is no longer in his job.
You're making this worse.
Ross, would I do a thing like that to you?
Oh.
But let's crack on. I think we have 1 game remaining that we haven't touched on. Chelsea versus West Ham. Obviously, Chelsea have conceded 2 goals, and again, Koulibaly is adding to the poison chalice that was his transfer in on a -4 for you, since he's just back from his suspension. are you thinking, given that West Ham have now got a very exciting Brazilian also signed to their ranks in Paqueta? How do you pronounce it, Colm?
Paqueta.
Paqueta. He's arrived. They've got Antonio and Scamacca, and they are looking apparently to sign Mr. Aaron Wan-Bissaka before this window's closed too. So that could add a bit of defensive qualities. Is there chinks in the Chelsea armour, or could it all be solved by the presence of a striker? Because at the moment they seem to be a bit dull up there, and maybe that's giving teams pause for thought and kind of going, well, if they do break on us, who's going to score?
Yeah, and West Ham, look, in my opinion, I don't think West Ham are strong enough to get a win from Chelsea, especially at Stamford Bridge. They're lacking fluidity, and I don't believe that a striker by itself would solve their issues. There's a lot of good players in their side, and I think that they're just low in confidence. But personally, I would give West Ham assets a miss for that game week. I think after the Chelsea game, their upcoming fixtures will be a lot more easier.
Absolutely. Colin, do you want to add anything to the games that you didn't have an input on, or?
I'm just gonna go off the back of Ross here, and I'm gonna go the opposite way. I would say don't go with Chelsea players against West Ham. I watch a lot of football. Paqueta is a baller. He is a fantastic player. He's okay. One player can't make a difference, but with the struggles that Chelsea are having at the minute, and they have a leaky defense, and like you said, they haven't got a goal scorer really. They're relying a lot on Sterling, who at Man City, yes, got some goals, but it's a whole new team, and he has been struggling to get goals. I think West Ham, with the way they set up, they'll have Rice and who is it that partners up with Rice in midfield normally?
Soychek.
Yeah. I mean, they're two players really hard to get past. And yeah, okay, Chelsea will have obviously Sterling, Havertz, players like this, but it's going to be a hard game. It's going to be a very, very hard game.
Just before we kind of get to the final bit of business, and that is the captaincy calls, we will bring up this divisional league, which is now the Full-Time Sports Network Fantasy Football League. And Cook's Classics had an absolutely wonderful performance, I think, in the last game week to take them top. They utilised their bench boost absolutely fantastically, which delivered them a big yield. So they are currently cruising. And on Monday, finally, has started making his way down the table, because we're still trying to figure out here in Full-Time Sports HQ who is in his ear, because this is no way that a Monday Juma would have picked a team that did not include Harry Maguire. There's just no chance. But there's your top 10. So if you are looking at this and your name's on the screen, please do give us a comment and let us know what you think of your season thus far. But I'm going to move on now to that all-important captain call. And I think for most of us so far this season, it's been a mixed bag. Some weeks we've gotten it right, and other weeks we've gotten it so badly wrong. Getting those fixtures back up, what game are you taking your captain from, and who's it going to be placed on?
I want Colm to go first. I want to pick his brain.
I'm going to pick my brain. Oh, God. Well, it's not working out very well for me at the minute, in all fairness. Let's have a look. Who we got? You see, I could go with the obvious one, really. I could go with, the Man City Aston Villa game, and you could go with Haaland. But again, I'd have to go with that, because I was going to say Harry Kane, but we're clearly seeing that full amount of teams to be messed with. They're actually going out there and putting in performances and winning. And I'm not sure whether Spurs are, well, obviously they won't misjudge them or anything, but I don't think they'll put in the same passion or energy as what they would if they were playing, a West Ham or a Liverpool, less, someone like that. They might go a bit more easy on him. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Haaland as my captain for game week 6.
Ross.
For me, I am going to look at that Merseyside derby. And I know Mo Salah gave us a huge heartbreak. I know Mo Salah let us down. But this is what second chances are for. And it's a big game. Mo Salah is a big game player. And I know that we've gone through everything and we spoke about him looking a bit out of it. But if there's ever one match for him to come to light, it's a Merseyside derby, especially at Goodison Park. And I think King Mo might just turn up here. But as Colm was saying, that Man City game against Villa, Haaland is on form. He's definitely a good shout. But for me, it would be Mo Salah.
And I'm going to throw a spanner into the proverbial works and mention the fact that certain Mr. Darwin Núñez ends his suspension in that week, that game. And obviously, Liverpool will be in Champions League action midweek following it. Could there be an absolutely unbelievable shout that Mo Salah could end up on the bench ahead of Champions League football, and that we could be looking at a front three of Firmino, Diaz, and Núñez, or possibly even Jota, Diaz, and Núñez?
Yeah, you could be. What I would say is if anybody has got Firmino in the team and they have already got him as captain, stick with him. Do stick with him for this game because I think he'll put in another masterclass. No matter who he's partnered up with, if he does play, he'll probably put in another masterclass performance.
Absolutely. Now, before I give our closing thoughts, any final words, Ross, on the game week at hand? I will provide you with the score lines. They are unchanged as of this moment. It still remains Palace 1, Brentford 0, Fulham 2, Brighton 1, Southampton 2, Chelsea 1, and Leeds 0, Everton 1. And in the Chelsea game, Christian Pulisic has come on for Kai Havertz, Borja has been brought on for Azpilicueta, and Ben Chilwell has returned for Jorginho.
Some interesting movements there. I think the Chelsea rotation might just be as bad as what Man City's rotation was last season. And it might give the Chelsea defensive asset owners a bit of a headache now because with them being a bit leaky in defense, like Colm was saying, if you're a Mendy owner, if you're a Cucurella owner, if you're a Reece James owner, it almost makes you think maybe you need to start switching out to some differentials. That's something I would do.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to, before I come back to you, there was absolutely some carnage there. Fulham defence went to sleep. They were waiting for an offside call that never came. I'm trying to make out who it was for Brighton. That was offside. That was definitely offside. There was no way that shot should have given, but it crept off the post one-on-one with the keeper, and they're after squandering the resulting corner. So no change in that game. But that being said, I think at 43 minutes in, if you are enjoying the fantasy football content, please do share the show with your friends. Get them involved in the channel. We do welcome all viewers' questions. And we will be back here again next week to discuss the fallout of the weekend's fixtures, that is game week 6. But from us, Colm, Ross, and Rebel, it is a very good evening and enjoy the remainder of tonight's football.